What's up, guys? Good morning, good evening, and welcome to Kings of the Storm Weekly number 8. I'm Solid Jake.
And I'm Kubi.
And, well, we've got a lot of stuff happening now. This is the first tournament of the beta.
Yes, a lot of stuff. That is an understatement, sir. There's going to be so many changes to the meta today. It is going to be insane. So keep your eyes peeled. Guys, we're going to be learning with you today.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a lot of crazy stuff happening. We're going to do our best to bring you that story.
And speaking of stories, well, let's take a look at the story of the bracket that we do, in fact, have. And switching right on over here, we can see the bracket today. Now, there's been some changes. Glorious is kind of no more. They survived the alpha, and it's not that Glorious is done. It's the fact that Glaurung is now playing with Symbiote, and it looks like today we have ZPs playing on Evil Geniuses. Now, we're not 100% confirmed if these are permanent roster changes, but Matt Timmy is not with SMG, Glaurung's there, and ZP's on EG, so...
That's a lot of changes today. Yes,
yeah,
that's huge. That's probably, I would say, the largest set of roster changes that we have seen probably since the alpha started.
Yeah, pretty easy to say that because that's, you know, right into the beta, big changes there. And those are like our the story we had last week was these are the two longest standing teams.
I know,
going
right?
against each other in the finals, and here they are being both kind of swapped out a little bit different. Now, SMG has a bye. Wildfire will be playing against Tempest. Tuark Iliad versus Egads. Never seen them play.
Yep, same here.
And Maelstrom versus APM on the other half.
Yep, and we have C9 Vortex versus Backlash. Evil Geniuses will be playing as Heroes Hype. Murlocs Inc., formerly Clairvoyant, if you guys didn't know about that change, it was about 2 weeks ago, versus Adjacent. And then we have Barrel Boys versus Vivid Gaming, which happens to be the game that we are going to be opting and casting for you guys right now.
And on that note, we're going to get the draft going in just a moment here.
Let's get that started.
But Corey, yeah, I mean, Barrel Boys has been playing very well lately, but Vivid, kind of a new squad here as well. There's actually a few new NA teams, and we have a full 15 teams in our 16-man bracket. One team had a player not able to play today, so they dropped out the last mode. But it's good that bracket's filled out, and we're going to have some good games today. Now, Sky Temple is in play.
Oh, yes, this is true.
Thrall
is in play. But we do have one big rule change update from last week is that Tychus is globally banned for the tournament. There is sort of a weird bug right now where if you're standing still while you cast Overkill, you're allowed to auto-attack while Overkill is happening. So obviously this is going to like nearly double his DPS versus a standing target. This is going to make a huge deal versus if you're standing behind the wall trying to attack Dragon Knight or something. You know, there's just so many applications for where you're going to be able to pull that off.
You just push that H key to hold your character in place, and suddenly you just have tons of DPS.
Right,
It's a little strong.
Yeah, until we get that sorted out, or perhaps that's a hotfix on Blizzard's side, we're going to be globally banning Tychus. So that changes things because, as you guys know, even before this bug, Tychus is a very, very strong hero, often first ban, first pick. So that's going to shake the meta up on top of all the other changes that we've had in this beta patch. And we'll be going through all those things as they come up. So we're very familiar with the patch change list that's happened this week. So if you guys haven't had a chance to catch up with those changes, we'll bring them to you.
Yeah, I mean, Sky Temple itself is such a big change.
Oh, yeah,
it's the first time we've had a map thrown into the pool since Garden of Terror. Garden of Terror has been out for quite a while. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how the pro teams approach the map because it's definitely different. It's the map that has 3 points you can capture. And it's kind of like Dragonshire meets Blackhearts in the sense that
that's fair.
You capture a shrine, but instead of having to then capture a Dragonite, you actually just get siege instantaneously on the enemy team. And it'll be cool to see if we actually see the map played. Yeah. But we have a friend.
Wildcat
we have a friend. But we also have a draft available, and we're going to switch on over to the draft screen as it is underway. The map is, in fact, going to be Dragonshire, so my overlay is, in fact, incorrect. And we're going to fix that real quick.
Yes. Okay, so we have a Zeratul ban coming out of Vivid Gaming and a Stitches ban coming out of Barrel Boys. So, among a bunch of host of changes that have happened over this past week, a bunch of warriors have gotten some nerfs. The biggest overall change to warriors is that Resurgence has been removed as a talent at level 20. So, that is obviously a huge change going into it because that was, if you guys watched last week at all, that was a huge part of how people were drafting, how they were building their teams, etc. So, that's going to be a big change. So if you guys see a ton of bans on warriors, namely Stitches and Arthas, going into it, that's shouldn't be too surprised there.
Yeah, I mean, it's Muradin got buffed. So Muradin is now okay. When I say he got buffed, they fixed the nerf where he had a ton of HP regen, but then they buffed his movement with Dwarf Toss, and then they raised his HP regen to a little bit higher than what it was prior to that bug existing. I've actually seen a lot of really solid Muradin play, and I've heard of teams actually toying around with ETC and Diablo. So we could see some weird stuff. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what we're going to see.
How exciting is that, though? Seriously.
It's great. But like you said, Arthas and Stitches are kind of like the clear picks because Resurgence is gone. Resurgence is the biggest change that they made in the competitive scene right now because without that in the game, that really, I mean, at level 20, the options for tanks aren't that good, but when you consider Blink and Gorge on Stitches, that's a great option.
Of course.
And we've even seen Atlanta on Murloc's Inc. opt for that over Resurge in previous tournaments.
It's true. Yep. Also, that said, there's also going to be some pick changes, I guess, for supports. I think it's fair to say that Brightwing is now probably clearly the best support. So you will see Brightwing even first picked, like we do see here.
Yep.
And then I think it's also pretty fair to say that Vala may be the best ranged support. Ranged assassin right now.
Falstad had some changes to him.
And
it's
a little unclear
well,
as to like how strong he's going to be. And it's I've heard of a lot of teams have been using him in scrims over this past week, so no surprise to see him picked up here. We'll be watching him very closely to see how some of the changes have affected his gameplay in general. And yeah, that said, moving forward, we do see that Barrel Boys has grabbed Vala and Falstad. And then on the other side, for Vivid Gaming, we see Tassadar and Hammer. Hammer, no surprise. Hammer is very, very strong on this map. There were no changes to Hammer?
No changes to Hammer, but the changes to everyone else has kind of... And we're talking Dragonshire here. Yeah. Dragonshire Hammer's always been very solid on.
Of course.
Resurgence is gone, so yes, in theory, that's a nerf
She was
to
kind of like, quote-unquote, the only assassin that had Resurgence of the Storm. So that is a change. That said, she is still a very solid... hero pick, and Jake's getting real excited because we have the newest hero added to the bunch. It is Thrall.
That's a master skin right there too.
That is a master skin.
That means
McIntyre's been putting work in on Thrall here. That's
cool
to see.
Probably, I don't know, 40, 50 games at least played on Thrall here.
So we expect to see some of that high-level Thrall play right here. Now, I'm excited because...
Let's talk about Thrall really quick.
Sure.
Thrall is in fact a melee assassin. He doesn't have a stun, but he's kind of similar to Kerrigan in the effect that he's very in your face, and he can stun, root you down. So he has a ranged root that it's skill shot.
Right.
He sends it out. It's a wolf that'll lock you down. You can time that. It's 1 second by default. You can make it 1.5 seconds. But people build into Wind Fury, and the thing about Thrall is he has a lot of self-healing, especially in late game when he can just cast Wind Fury with battle momentum. He gets his Wind Fury off cooldown in just about 3 seconds. He can do it again, and not only is his damage output really high, but he's healing through all of that.
Then he gets the move speed whenever he casts Wind Fury too, so he's allowed to chase you. I didn't even consider this as we were going through this draft. Arthas was just picked up, very late,
but
very late.
Look at that other tank,
Muradin and Diablo. It's happening. It's happening. We should also mention the other set of casters that we have that is on twitch.tv/ZoyaTV. That is, of course, Zoya, and Sham2 will be casting over there, so you guys can catch out some of the other set of round 1 games we have going on over there. I'm sure if Kev was watching right now, he would be so elated to see that Diablo is being played. And I'm actually not that surprised, to be honest with you.
Go tweet at Sham2 so he sees that.
Let him know.
He's distracted by his own game by trying to watch the sick Diablo play we're about to see. But yeah, I mean, all in all, these drafts look kind of what we expected to see with Tychus not being here and the tanks change. Diablo is a hero that we do not see in competitive heroes. Poom is like the only player of ESP Wildfire who will even consider running Diablo, and he's seen some success. But it's going to be interesting to see him played in this event here. Now, both these rosters, there's actually, it's kind of just more of a sustained comp here on the side of Vivid Gaming, where they don't have like a lot of burst.
Yeah, it's you're right about that, exactly. So it's going to be a lot of control.
Yep.
Because I mean, Diablo and Muradin both have tons of stuns, tons of CCs available in their kit. So they're going to be sort of wanting to create a bit of a front line so that they can allow Tassadar in Archon form, of course, throwing down those storms, getting the bonus damage on the auto attacks, and then obviously Hammer is going to want to be sitting behind them as well, firing, pelting away with those auto attacks. And then of course you have Brightwing there to either get people out or just for the sustained on blink heal. I think that's generally the strategy they're going for. It is a little bit not normal for the NA meta to run the double tank and try out this type of strategy. This is more of like what you would see for an EU comp. So I don't know, but hey, this is a new,
especially in this new
patch.
meta. Like I heard a lot of predictions from top players saying like, well, teams are gonna run without tanks in general. We're gonna see tank compositions without any tank, and they'll just have Uther with like Thrall to be their front line and stuff like that, replacing the tank in general. Which not what we're seeing
not
in
at all.
This match.
Not at all. We have, I mean, one band and 3 tanks picked up. Or 3 warriors, I should say.
So, yep, Dragonshire game 1 here, best of 3 series in this round 1 of Kings of Storm, weekly number 8, between Vivid Gaming and Barrel Boys. Gonna get the overlay up here. Is it right? Is it ready? Oh, we're looking nice and pretty, Corey.
Yes.
Let's introduce our teams.
Absolutely. So for Barrel Boys, on the blue side, we have Base Drop playing Vala. McIntyre is going to be on the new hero, Thrall. Blinks is going to be on Malfurion, Trummel on Falstad, and rounding it out, we have Curse Fury on Arthas.
How beautiful
this,
they are.
yes.
Oh,
come on, Blinks.
Well, on the other half of the map, we have Wilted playing Muradin. Ego is going to be playing on Tassadar, and we have the triple bottom lane with Ivy Slime on Sergeant Hammer, Lex Uther on Brightwing, rocking that new monkey skin. Actually throws bananas. And Daihu is going to be playing the Kaiju Diablo.
Oh, my. Are they doing some creep body blocking? Nope.
Nothing weird here. Just both teams just running around and in. Not that creep body blocking is weird. It's just kind of one of those things. Some teams do, some teams opt not to.
Right.
It doesn't make a huge difference on the game, but it allows you to have the minions further on your side of the map, so you're safer in clearing them and soaking your experience.
And you saw what Tassadar was doing there, right in that middle triangle that you guys can see. Can stand in the middle there with his Oracle out and just check to see, are they trying to party bush us here, which is where a bunch of heroes hide in the cloaked grass areas to try and pick up a quick kill. None of that's going to be able to happen here with Tassadar's extra vision, so cool little thing.
We see middle lane rotating down, so it's going to be 4 in the bottom lane, but immediately Tassadar used Oracle yet again. You saw the exclamation points over their heads, so bottom lane knew exactly what was happening in that moment. That's just one of those strengths of Tassadar in general, the fact that he can get that vision constantly. Look at the bananas. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, in that sense, Tassadar is almost like anti-cheese.
Yeah,
like, you know,
in a lot of ways.
Anti-aggression, I guess, for picks. That's fun. We can actually, while we're viewing these guys doing a little 3v3 lane down here at bottom, yes, we can talk about some of the talents here. Looks as though Vala is going to be probably going a multi-shot style build, which is something very common that we would see before this patch. Mana regen, Bribe, Frozen Waste. Okay, all these are pretty standard things. Let's talk about the Wind Fury talent here, Wind Share, that was picked up, reducing the cooldown. Is this, Jake, would you say this
yeah, that's the
common
standard
pick,
stuff. I mean,
okay.
Of course, Thrall's only been out for a few days at this point, but people tend to go the Wind Fury composition. So you get that at level 4. Typically, you'll see in Venom, it's possible to get Mana Tide, which gives you just more sustainability on your mana.
Okay.
And then level 7, you'll get Battle Momentum. Now, when you pair Battle Momentum with Wind Shear, and you're hitting 3 times with your auto attack just from Wind Fury, it actually makes the duration, or the cooldown duration, only 3 seconds for Wind Fury.
Right. Okay, and then we can talk a little bit about Vivid's talents. Before we get to the level 4 talents for both teams, we do have Advanced Artillery out of Hammer. That's very standard. Basically just going to be going for a straight auto attack build. And it looks like Curse Fury's in a little bit of trouble here. Yeah, he went in for the initiation, but he gets flipped there. Now Lex Uther has the Envenom on him. The roots go down. Lex Uther taps well. Will it live? It actually might not. Oh, the pulse. Oh, the pulse. Yes. That was very, very close.
Yep, very close there, and we do see the double Envenom. So Arthas Thrall is kind of like Arthas Kerrigan, where they can roam around together. They both have a root, and they both have Envenom. Envenom did receive a slight nerf in this patch from 7 to 6 damage per tick.
Yep, so slightly nerfed in that sense. Still, obviously, a very, very strong talent. You can consider it sort of like a burst thing, a ranged burst. At this point in the game, such early levels here, it's a very strong talent still. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see that picked up very commonly. Let's see, any other interesting... I'm actually looking at Diablo's build here, just a little bit.
We have a disconnect there on Will, too, that is unfortunate.
Hopefully he is able to get back in just a few seconds here. That would be pretty unfortunate to see, but... anyway, so yeah, talking about Diablo's build a little bit, he actually grabbed reduced the resurrection cost of souls down to 60. And I think the maximum amount of souls that he can hold is 100. But I would say more often than not, it looks like Ivy Slime is a bit rooted here.
Yeah, he's boosting away, trying to get on out, and he's going to be just fine here. We have the nice peel there from Diablo. So he's going to tap the well if he can, but it looks like he might not be able to. Murden bot actually, he's holding out in the top lane a little bit.
I mean, he's giving up that shrine, but, yeah, he's holding.
He's okay. He's doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, we really hate to see this kind of thing happen.
Now, we do have McIntyre here in the middle lane. Note that McIntyre does have a lot of self-healing from his trait every time he uses 5 spells or hits targets with 5 spells. Now, Chain Lightning, of course, hits 3 targets, and Wind Fury can hit 3 targets, so that is, in fact, a heal. But the root goes down an Ego, and that's going to be a kill. Trouble's going to get a Dragonite, and, the advantage here going to Barrel Boys pretty early in the match.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, with Murden, Murden does have quite a bit of sustain. Not as much as the previous patch, just because they changed his HP regen early game. That said, I would imagine that the Murden would have been able to put up more of a fight had he been in the game, obviously. So that's, I mean, hey, nicely played to Barrel Boys, but it's hard to say what the situation would have been.
It's unfortunate that it happens. Yeah. At this point, though, we do have a big rotation in the bottom lane, just from we have both Thrall and Arthas here putting the pressure on Ivy Slime. Trummel coming down with the Dragonite, going to keep this pressure going. Lex Uther, we have Wilted restoring their connection, so hopefully this is going to help stabilize the match.
Yeah, he'll be back in just a bit. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's quite in the game just yet. But
Reconnect takes a little while.
Yes, but that's a good sign that he will be. And it is still fairly early game. Obviously, Barrel Boys is going to have an advantage because of this, but that's something that's insurmountable for them to make a comeback on.
Now, Ego's just backing up here as McIntyre's on the chase. He hits him with the stun, and we have this big rotation coming up here. We see everything going down from the false head, and Daihu's getting very low, nothing there to save him. Brightwing is not going to be able to do much to help him stay alive. He's in a bad spot himself, and we see the bribe sticks going down from false head instantaneously, and that's going to be a bribe. Some giants here for Barrel Boys. Looking at the talents.
Yeah, actually nothing too crazy. We didn't really get a chance to talk about Tassar's build. He did opt to go for the mana regen off of Cyanic Storm. Sometimes people grab that, or they grab the range, and of course went to the Oracle upgrade Mental Acuity. And auto attacks receive crits for any targets that hit. And wow, that Sundering just absolutely isolated Brightwing there, and there was absolutely no chance. That is a knockback and a 1.5 second stun on that. So if you're out of position, well, you can pretty much consider that you will be dead. So
long range, I mean, it does damage too on top of the stunning and the knockback. So it's quite a powerhouse of a heroic, but that is in fact his heroic, and doesn't even look like it's still on cooldown. It's possible that's actually bugged, but he does have battle momentum, so maybe he has actually auto-attacked that much.
That would be entertaining, wouldn't it? But I don't think that's the case. Probably just a bugged display there in terms of the cooldown.
Yep. Level 10 achieved here by the other team.
Absolutely. So we have Napalm Strike. That is the general go-to for Sergeant Hammer. That just feeds into the sustained range damage, and that very, very short cooldown. I think it's about 6 seconds. Yeah, 6-second cooldown on that. Archon. Emerald Wind here is picked up. A little bit surprised to see that, considering we don't have Regenerative Rains or Gust of Winds at level 7. We had Cleanse picked up from Brightwing. Brightwing and Uther are the only 2 heroes in the game that have Cleanse. So obviously, and it's a very, very strong talent. So whenever it's picked up, there's, they have good reason to do so. But I would suspect that the amount of healing available to Vivid Gaming right now is going to be quite low. So I was expected to see Blink Heal, just for that fact.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. Their team has a fair amount of sustain, and I think the logic might be a little bit just like, okay, well they have this kind of divey Thrall Arthas
double tank
style, and they just might want to be able to separate them, disengage a little bit when needed, keep that hammer getting the max damage available, and go with that.
Right.
Now we do see a big push here in the bottom lane coming out of Vivid Gaming, but the rotation is here happening right now.
Yes.
Ace dropping Curse Fury coming from the backside, and immediately we see the Shadow Charge coming out of Diablo, but with the Frozen Tempest of Arthas and just the Strafe getting so much damage, and Shock and Awe goes down. A lot of damage done. No one's dead yet on the side of Vivid Gaming, but look at that. They're taking, everyone is getting very low on their side. We can see McIntyre get healed up almost instantly. One down. Ivy Slime's going down as well. They're going to keep pushing through this wall, and Corey, not looking good.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just, there wasn't actually too much focus fire going on there for Barrel Boys, but they were able to just keep pushing them back, and there was really nothing Vivid could do to sort of like turn around and try and turn the fight on them. They just had to retreat in that situation. And everyone just sort of gotten, they just melted basically, and just didn't go well. There's not really much else to say from that. They pushed a little bit too hard, and the rotation that came in, something that they probably could have expected. Oh yeah, that was a really nice little trick there. Actually, if you manage to stun out the Dragonite as he's running to you to punt you, you can cancel out that boot. But now we did see Diablo the situation that he put himself in, you know, he was pretty much in the middle of the entire enemy team there. Not good, and he did fall for it.
And Sundering, we saw that used again there. Sundering just kind of, it's a long-range stun. And it's kind of a cool thing that they have both Sundering and Shotgun on their team, because those are two really long-range dealing abilities. They don't necessarily pair well together to be used simultaneously, because Sundering would actually move them out of the line.
Right.
But just in general, to just give their team a lot of options.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what this Shock and Awe is? I'm a little unfamiliar with what this ability is.
I suppose it has, in fact, been renamed to Highlands Blast.
Hinterland Blast, sir. Of course, I'm razzing Jake there. They did just change the name of this heroic. And it was kind of an iconic name, I guess, for this community, just to call it Shock and Awe. Nice Shock and Awe, you would just call it out. But it is now Hinterland's Blast, so we do need to respect the name change here for Falstad. He would appreciate that, I'm sure.
Hinterland's, of course, the zone in which the Wildhammer clan lives, and that is the clan that Falstad is from. Lex Uther there with the Emerald clan knocking them back.
Jake dropping the WoW knowledge on us in the middle of the fight. I like it.
Now, at this point in time, we did have that disconnect. It's very unfortunate, but there's 3 levels ahead here for Barrel Boys. They're just continuing to push their lead and continue to push on here. 1 fort down in the bottom lane, 1 fort down in the top lane. They're going for this middle fort.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. And there's not too much to say. Unfortunately, it would seem as though Wilted was out of the game for a significant enough amount of time just to sort of give Barrel Boys the advantage here moving forward. Can't say that either team is positioning necessarily poorly, except for that overextended push bottom lane. But I mean, the advantage is still there, and it's hard not to keep bringing it up because it really is sort of the story of this game, unfortunately.
Oh, the new animation when the Knights spawn in is actually really cool. We saw that happening right there. Both teams positioning to take these Knights. 2 bribe stacks are used from Falstad, and they're going to get those Knights very quickly. With the 3-level disadvantage, that's a talent disadvantage, they actually can't really fight on an even footing.
Yeah, that talent advantage is huge, and it's a solid 3-level lead. It's so hard to make these comebacks. Basically, what you have to do is look for a situation where you can sort of isolate one of the members of the team, whether that means Diablo catching someone slightly out of position and getting an overcharge into a knockback, so that the rest of the team can isolate and kill them, or they're gonna just have to try to out-rotate them. There's a lot of ways to come back, but none of them are necessarily easy, especially when it's a 3-level deficit here.
So while the shrines are spawning, let's talk about these talents a little bit. I want to talk about Thrall's build. Now, typically, what we'd see people is we'd see the double stacks on the trait for Thrall, but he's actually opting for Giant Killer since we're seeing double tank on the other team. I like this a lot, and it's going to make him hit like an absolute truck.
Sure.
We're talking like close to 500 damage on each auto attack with this kind of build right quickly. Now we see the Shock and Awe coming out right after the Sundering. I said you can't pair them. They say no, you're wrong. And there we see it immediately. Really nicely done, and they're forced to back as they lose a couple members.
Yeah, I mean, as long as your communication's there, I mean, you just throw down that Sundering, you have that 1.5 second gap so that you can throw down that Hinterland Blast.
Oh,
it
gosh.
is.
It's going to take some time, my friends.
Of course.
It's going to take some time. So the Dragon Knight is in fact going to be here for Barrel Boys once again, level 17 to 14, opting to actually ignore that middle fort and push right on down for the core. They want to end it, and they want to end it now.
I mean, why not? They have this just gigantic advantage, this 3-level lead going into level 17 here for Barrel Boys. I said it before, it's going to be really, really tough to make this comeback. We have so much sustain coming out of this team here with the Tranquility. We have the extra, the regrowth, the life seed. Everything is just sort of pointing to, hey, Barrel Boys is going to be incredibly difficult to kill at this point. While this whole fight is happening, Dragon Knight is just slapping away at that core. There's really no way for Vivid Gaming here to even just kill the Dragon Knight itself. So we are going to see game number 1 going to Barrel Boys.
Well played there. Nicely done by both teams. And we're going to be going into game number 2 in just a minute, Kubi. Some good stuff.
Well played.
Well played. Well played. Now, looking at that match, they did have a disconnect on Muradin.
Yeah, it's really hard to draw a lot of conclusions in terms of like how each team played. When you get to the point where you're level 11, 12, and you're already down 3 levels, it's just unfortunate. It really is. And the ruling that we generally tend to go for these types of tournaments, at least with the way that the reconnect system is working around, if it's past or like the 2 or 3 minute mark of the game, you sort of have to play on. There's no good way to redo this right now. And now, if Barrel Boys wants to rematch the game, they can. this tends to sort of slow the tournament down now, so I think it's going to be up to see Steve. Matt, that's our tournament organizer here. So I would guess that we're probably just going to play on, but I will confirm that right now.
Okay, so we're going to figure that out, and before we actually have an answer, it might take a few minutes, we're just going to throw to a quick commercial break.
Sure.
So guys, stay tuned for either a rematch or Game 2. We'll find out. We'll let you know. Be right back.